Lights, camera, action. If you've tuned in this month, you already know that our theme for the month is Action August. So we've got our little movie props there to drive home the point. We've got a couple of more Wednesdays in August, so you'll be seeing that prop a couple of more times. Mark Sweeney here from Austin Dental Spa in beautiful, very, very hot Austin, Texas. If you've tuned in before, you already know the routine here. We go through a little bit of scientific presentation, usually specifically related to dentistry, but not always, sometimes about whole body health. And usually scientifically based from some of the medical and dental reports that are coming out recently. And then we have a little fun health tip at the end of each session. So if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to Wisdom Wednesday, and that's kind of the general format. So our topic today is going to be a lot of fun. We all knew that there are taste buds on our tongues, and there are like 5 different senses that are tasted in different areas of the tongue. We learned that in like 7th grade. But did you know that there are taste sensors? Some of the latest research, very new, hot off the press stuff that they're still learning more about. There are taste sensors in some of the most unlikely parts of the body. Don't let your mind go in the gutter just yet. I'll point out those parts of the body that have taste sensors, and we'll also talk about the difference between taste buds and taste sensors. But like I was saying, we all knew about the 5 different senses. Well, they've changed one of them. Salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and now we used to call it hot, but now they call it umami. That's a new one. I hadn't heard that until I started looking over this information. What is umami? Well, it's kind of a meaty sense, like meat and fish. It's a savory sense of taste. So they've taken the hot, the cayenne pepper kind of hot out of there and replaced it with umami. There are only 2 taste receptors now, sweet and bitter. That's new research that was news to me as well. And all these other taste sensations are combinations of those 2 taste receptors, sweet and bitter. Taste buds are different than taste receptors. The taste buds on your tongue have taste receptors in them. And so we've known that was taught to us back in dental school along with those 5 taste senses. But we did not know that there are taste sensors all the way through the esophagus, down into the stomach, and even into the small intestines, and a couple of other places that I'll talk about later. But particularly stomach and pancreas, they found taste receptors in the gut lining of the stomach and the small intestine, and they found that those taste receptors pick up different chemicals in the foods that we're eating as it's being digested, and there are sweet taste receptors in the pancreas. We weren't taught that in dental school 40 years ago. These sweet taste receptors in the pancreas, it sort of makes sense because the pancreas regulates insulin, and insulin reacts and is dumped into your system when your blood sugar goes up. The insulin helps bring your blood sugar back down and helps food get digested that way. So the same thing they found in the gut and the stomach, it just stands to reason that those chemicals that these taste receptors pick up regulate how much acid gets put into our systems, into our stomach, to help break down the foods that we've eaten. So the combination of the taste receptors and the taste buds, and it starts in your mouth, but the taste buds stop in your mouth, the taste receptors go on through. they found that all taste receptors are in the epithelium, which is this outer part of our body, our skin, and the inside of your mouth and all the way through your intestinal tract is considered epithelium. It changes some as it goes through depending on how acid of an environment it is, but all the taste receptors that they found are in epithelial tissue. And so I thought this was all really interesting stuff. They've now found taste receptors in body fat, in the heart muscle, in skeletal muscle, in the bladder, and even in the brain. And most recent research, they've found taste receptors in the upper lung lining. And they think that that has to do with your immune response, because we know that a lot of the immune response comes from the lining of the gut and the biome that we've talked about quite a bit on Wisdom Wednesdays, the bacterial gut lining, the bacteria and funguses that play a part in us digesting our food. So we're thinking that these taste receptors are way more diverse in telling your brain how to digest the foods and what constitutes the foods that we've eaten, how acidic they are, how alkaline they are, and how much to regulate all the digestive functions that are going on in our body. So this is brand new stuff and pretty interesting stuff. So I wanted to pass that on to y'all. Let's talk about my health tip of the week. It is most of us could benefit from less sugar and less salt in our foods. As you know, especially this time of the year with it getting so hot, people sweating, you're losing a lot of fluids in your system. Sugars, we know, are not so good, especially being dentists, we've been preaching that a lower sugar content. But as I mentioned earlier, the taste buds on your tongue and in the back of your throat, they replace tissue receptors, the taste receptors, which are different than the taste buds. There are taste receptors on the taste buds. Roughly every 10 days, those die off and are replaced. So scientists are finding that there are a lot of people out there that if you want to reduce your sugar and your salt intake, do it gradually over a 10 to 20 day period. Try using a little less salt in your food and then keep it at that level for about 10 days. And as those receptors on the taste buds change out roughly every week and a half, you may get used to the lower salt level and it tastes just as salty as you were used to before you started reducing it. So don't give up after just one meal of reducing your sugar or salt intake and say, now that doesn't taste good, and go back to what you did before. You're never giving those taste receptors on your taste buds a chance to replenish and maybe get used to the new level. So you can gradually reduce the sugar and the salt in your diet over time. So try that and see if that works for you. That's it for this week's Wisdom Wednesday. I will see you next Wednesday for another episode of Wisdom Wednesday.